Welcome everyone to this Fireside chat with Voleer, a BitTitan product, and KeyHole Insights, a market research, economic, and strategy consulting firm headquartered in Singapore. My name is Nicholas Brayman, and I'm the marketing manager for APAC at Voleer. Today we will be discussing the recent APAC State of IT Outsourcing Industry Report that we developed by gathering from 435 IT decision makers across Australia, India, New Zealand, and Singapore about their IT outsourcing habits, drivers, forecasts, and preferences. Joining me today are Wyman Choi and Kakao Lee. Thank you both for joining us. First of
Thank
all,
you.
could you, welcome. First of all, could you introduce a bit about Keyhole Insights for the audience?
Sure. I think first of all, we're very thankful to be given this opportunity to develop this piece of research. KeyHole Insight is a boutique market research, economic, and strategy consulting firm. Our focus really lies in the intersection of data analytics, strategy, and storytelling. So this is a fantastic piece of research, particularly since it actually covers 435 respondents, and we're very excited to be working with Wally on this piece of research. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, it was great working with you to develop this report. We felt it was really important to get key insights for IT service providers that can better help them understand their customers. At Voleer, our key customers are IT professionals and mainly IT service providers. Our tools help them to deliver more value to their customers through automation. And the reason we, decided to develop this report is because we see a lot of disruption in the industry, and we feel that it's important for our partners to get an on-the-ground look at how the industry is going and what IT service providers can do to keep their businesses ahead of the curve. So to start with, of course, everyone around the globe has been deeply affected in many ways by the global pandemic. And when we started this research, it was actually about a year, almost exactly after, uh, the this thing really started picking up speed and affecting everybody's lives. So I think it gave us a good opportunity to see how IT decision makers have changed their outsourcing needs during this period. Could you tell us what the respondents shared related to the COVID-19 situation?
Sure. I think first of all, we saw that a majority, in fact, more than two-thirds of businesses actually increased their IT outsourcing because of COVID-19. I think in part this has to be because of the need to actually work from home and to have dual stations. And I think out of this 69%, 36% actually increased significantly, and because of COVID-19, and the other wanted increase only just slightly. Yeah.
Is that something you've seen in other industries, or do you have any similar studies you've done?
I think in particular, what is really interesting about this piece of its research is um, by geography, the country that actually has increased most significantly is India, followed by Australia and Singapore and New Zealand. So I think out of these four countries, India is the one that has actually significantly increased, followed by Australia, Singapore, New Zealand. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think that shows the increasing opportunity that IT service providers to have to go after the new market share and how customers are actually increasing their outsourcing needs. I think this goes hand in hand with another data point that we collected, which is the workload and manpower and budget uh, percentages that IT decision makers have seen. Can you share what data we got?
Yep. So basically, we saw that over two-thirds have increased significantly IT outsourcing. And we wanted to actually find out what was the reason and what actually motivated this increase. And out of which 40% of businesses have significantly increased their IT workload, and of which 43% have increased their budget as well. And in terms of manpower, 26% have increased the requirement. So the requirement for IT services, IT needs have shot up significantly. And I think something that prompted me to think more about this is we were curious as to whether such a trend is it because of the pandemic, and after which, when things settle, it will go back to normal, or it will, or rather that the pandemic has actually accelerated this trend. What do you think, Nicholas?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I think that the importance of IT in almost all businesses has been accelerating with digital transformation and people digitizing their businesses. And this pandemic situation, the past year and a half, certainly has led to a jump that probably would have eventually, or I mean, for sure, would have eventually been reached. It's just a matter of how long that would have taken without this happening. Broadly speaking, I don't think it will, ever return to previous levels. One of the main missions of Voleer is to help IT professionals automate manual and repetitive work so that they can focus on strategic projects. We saw the need for this, 2, 3 years ago, even before that. And as we've picked up adoption and had more customers coming to us that see the need for this as well, it just shows that um, that's something that the market needs. And I think this has accelerated that process. The effects or the results that we found in this report reflect that, and I think we'll continue to see more of the same going forward. Uh, and the other thing is this, increase really gives IT service providers the opportunity to step in and establish close relationships with their customers, with new customers. And that brings us to the next area I wanted to talk about, which are the reasons organizations utilize IT outsourcing. Okay,
Okay.
okay, yeah, do you want to share this
Yes,
info?
Nicholas,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks. Yeah, okay, so there's two key points that really stand out. First one is that the respondents are looking to for IT outsourcing is really to enable access to deep expertise and also enable access to broad expertise. And I think these two areas whereby focusing on deep expertise, IT service providers should seek to elevate themselves to be a trusted IT partner through specializations. By becoming more specialized in certain areas and then be experts in those fields will really um, um, gain a lot of trust and a lot of deep expertise that customers will be looking towards them for. And another area will be deep access. Being able to grow offerings and meet more of the customers' needs will definitely create stickier relationships with their end clients. And when we look at the data, in terms of the top reasons, over the next 12 months, it's not going to change a lot. And access to deep expertise, broad expertise, and enable the internal team to focus on more strategic tasks is still the same and still the same reasons that clients will be looking for ITO service providers.
Great. Yeah, I think this is, pretty consistent with what we've heard from customers. Um, at first, I think it's interesting that the top two drivers, deep expertise and broad expertise, might sound contradictory, but it actually shows that there's a huge benefit for IT service providers to expand their offerings while still focusing on key areas of deep capabilities. And what we're seeing is that IT departments are having greater impact on business strategy and results than ever before, which is where that need for deep expertise and then saving time so that they can focus on strategic activities comes from. And so I think this follows up quite naturally with the next data point, which is what functions are actually being outsourced the most.
Mm. From our respondents from the data, security is clearly top of mind for businesses today. Gartner report recently stated that worldwide spending on cybersecurity is going to reach $133 billion in 2022. Maintenance and data management are also clear opportunities for IT service providers looking to expand their offerings. A question for you, Nicholas. Why do you think these functions are at the top?
Uh, Well, I think it goes back to the last point we looked at, which is deep expertise. As you said, security is really at the forefront of a lot of business leaders' concerns today, as it well should be, especially with the increase in cybersecurity incidents over the pandemic, and of course several well-known breaches in the U.S. and other places around the world. So businesses that are looking for an IT service provider that has strong security capabilities, which can provide great value to internal teams over them building out their own security centers. So the other one, software application development. That's another area that can be a lot more cost effective to outsource than to build their own team. Um, and again, basically, a lot of successful businesses, a lot of businesses from across many different industries are digitizing, finding ways to digitize their business, different ways to engage with their customers, different channels. And in order to do that effectively and differentiate themselves from their customers, they need custom development. They can't necessarily just go buy an off the shelf solution and call it digital transformation. They
Mhm.
actually need to work hand in hand with an IT partner who understands the technical side and can guide them through that process of being able to differentiate themselves, create that customer journey, the customer experience, to really transform themselves on many different levels.
Mm, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So now let's get into some data that's close to my heart, which is marketing. In the study, we wanted to learn how IT decision makers choose their service providers so that our customers can focus on their marketing activities that make the most impact. What did we find out about how IT decision makers find their IT outsourcing service providers?
Okay. Well, the first go-to activity that customers go for will be looking at web searching. So web searching is ranked first. It's a first go-to activity when researching for ITO service provider, followed by word of mouth. So by looking at the chart and we're understanding that web search and vendor website is important for the brand to be available on multiple channels, across channels, and availability to be seen across different channels. And of course, desire and interest is further increased through word of mouth.
Great. Yeah, that's very important. Word of mouth has always been one of the best ways for brands, especially small businesses, to get new leads. But I think this shows that digital marketing now is just as or even more important. And of course, these two important marketing channels can be combined with testimonials and customer success stories on a well-built website and social media channels.
Yeah. And I think even more so for your particular line, IT outsourcing, people really rely much more on web search because from the other research we've done, social network actually uh, we'll see a fair bit, maybe not as much, but still much more than this particular industry. So in this industry, what we find really interesting is web search actually really far outperform everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. We do work closely with a lot of our partners to make sure that we give them the support they need to, be able to be successful at digital marketing and showcase their brand, their team, their IP, their differentiators, and not just uh, have a boring website that doesn't give you any information, and then you end up, losing that
Mm,
web search or that user that actually lands on the website.
mm.
Uh, well, thanks for going through these points, Wyman and Kakao. I think there's, you know, um, one more point I want to cover. Just to note, everybody who's watching this, there's a lot more data in this report that we're not covering today. The full report is 42 pages, and so at the end we'll share how you can actually download the full report because there's a lot more great insights in there. But the last thing I wanted to share with our audience in this session is on how IT decision makers rated the performance of their current IT service providers. Can you go into that?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Okay, so when we ask this to the different respondents, in general, how will you describe the performance of your current IT service providers? And almost all companies rated that they were very pleased with their current IT service providers, citing IT providers who exceed expectations or go beyond, above and beyond their job scope, is because they were more of a partner rather than just a service provider. And on at the other end of the spectrum, respondents who cite that they have very bad experience or whereby the ITO service providers came below expectation is mainly due to the mismatch in the price and the value of the service that they were offering.
Great. This is a key point that we often emphasize to our partners. So we weren't really surprised, but it was still great confirmation to see that this was indicated in the responses as well. that it's just so important that it's not enough in today's market to be a transactional provider. The most successful ITSPs go beyond, as you said, and really make strategic impact to their customers' businesses. So thanks again, Wyman and Kakao, for joining us today and sharing some of the highlights of the report. It was great to go through and be able to share this in another format. For those of you watching, you can download the full report at the link being shared, and we'll also put it below in the description. If you want to learn more about how Voleer can help you automate IT management, be sure to visit voleer.com. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks again, Wyman and Kakao. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you
Thanks.
for having us, Nicholas.